What we know is for every 100 people in your database,
Mhm.
you have 10 deals per year. If you look at the stats on the MLS, approximately 1 out of 10 homes sell every year, which means 1 out of 10 people you talk to is going to be moving this year.
Mhm.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenny Woon.
I'm Tony Singh.
Welcome, Bill Laidler. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, you have disrupted is probably an understatement. This real estate business. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Perfect. I got into real estate in 2013. Thought I was going to change the world. Bought an internet lead program that promised me 100 leads a month for a full year. Dropped $50,000 into that program.
Ooh,
9 months later, I had one deal and I was broke. I almost quit the business and was really looking for a way forward. I was grateful for Phil Haig. Phil Haig was a top producing realtor in my office in Port Coquitlam, and he told me I had to list to last, which changed the trajectory of my business. I started looking for coaching programs that could teach us how to take listings, found the Mike Ferry organization, and was able to complete 49 transactions in that first full year in the business. Collected the Greater Vancouver Rookie of the Year award, and then just built my business after that. To now where we have multifamily development company, about 500 units in development, 100 units under construction, and academy where we're helping agents learn from the growth that I had, accelerate their learning, and be top producing agents in their local marketplace.
So what's really important, what I heard from that is mentorship and coaching is extremely important. And now you've actually retired from, like is it true that you hung your license and now you're expanded into the training and development, which is now the Laidler Group? And there's multiple layers of that business.
Yeah, I gave him my license in 2020. We have the Laidler Group led by Lex Burnham at Remax Sabre, and Laidler Academy that's open for any agent, any brokerage to follow the systems that we've developed.
Bill, how's your company currently organized? So I guess it would be your team in terms of Laidler Academy.
How's Laidler Academy organized?
Yeah.
Laidler Academy, we have two. Go ahead.
No, I guess because you have so many different companies, are they all intertwined with the same employees? And yeah, with Laidler Academy, are you the one teaching it or do you have coaches teaching agents?
Oh, my sister, Jackie, is our office manager and she runs all of the companies and pretty much anything that needs to happen across all companies. We call her the jack of all trades. She does everything to keep us organized. And then we have Romina, who is our marketing manager, mostly focused on the Laidler Academy, and then does support with some of our public consultation within Laidler development as well. Lex Burnham leads the Laidler Group and the sales team. And I am the lead coach with Laidler Academy. And we've also hired my personal coach for 5 years, Steve Powers, to help grow the skills within the academy. And Steve brought on his two partners, Gordon Watson and Sydney Fullen, to round out our coaching staff.
So, Bill, Sydney used to be my coach.
No
when I was
way.
with Mike. I love her. Yeah. She's great.
She's amazing.
Business coach, life coach?
Real estate coach when I was at Mike Ferry as well. She's fantastic. Yeah.
She is fantastic. She was the VP of coaching at Mike Ferry organization, and we're extremely grateful to have her as our Monday coach. She leads the rollout of the training and holds the agents accountable to their goals.
What's the biggest lesson you've ever learned in your career, and how has it made the impact in the way you do your business now?
Biggest lesson I learned was when I was 28 years old, I bought a $20 million piece of development land with my brother and one of my clients. When we were coming up to closing, we had two options. We had an offer from a major developer who would come in and partner with us, inject around $4 million worth of equity, and bring credit union financing to the project. Unfortunately, we ended up turning down that offer and accepted a private loan at 10% for 90% of the construction cost.
Wow.
We thought that project was going to be complete in 18 months. It ended up taking 5 years. And our renewal came due in the middle of the dip in the market right after the provincial government announced the foreign buyers tax. Our private lender got scared, called our loan on us, and we had to bulk sale the property. That project penciled $10 million profit, and we barely got our equity back. If we had taken the offer for help from the established developer, leveraged their connections and their experience, that project would have been completely different. And it reinforced to me the value of finding somebody else who already has done what you're trying to do, leveraging their experience, taking advantage of the mistakes that they've made so that we're not making the mistakes in our own business.
What do you think got in the way? Was it that you wanted to be more entrepreneurial and give the project a try yourself?
Ego.
Yeah. I was going to say that, but I want you to answer.
I was coming out, I was rookie of the year. I was selling 120 homes a year. Everything was going right for me. And I felt like development was going to be the exact same as real estate. That I was going to be able to figure it out, whatever happened. But no, it's much, much different world, especially when you're borrowing people's money. Not as much control in the development world as you do in your real estate business.
Bill, I think you tell this story as well in the Laidler Academy program, correct? Because I registered for it and I can't remember what module I'm on, maybe 3 or 4. But I just want to say that I think that it's so amazing that you're sharing your wins and losses when you're teaching the program. Because then people can really relate to, it brings them back to, why am I learning about this? What am I wanting to strengthen in my real estate career? And how can I best serve my clients? So I just, I think I might have left a comment as well when you had shared that. I don't know if you saw it. But shifting gears, I guess, for a bit, where do you expect to see multiplex properties increase the most with the trends in almost every municipality going higher density?
Multiplexes are going to be they're an interesting change in zoning. On one side, you're going to have an increase in value because you're going to have more potential revenue with the additional units per property. With such a mass rezoning, we're also going to see an increase in supply. And the builders are going to have a lot of options when they go to purchase. I'm not confident that the increase in supply and how many homes have been mass rezoned will increase the land value beyond where it currently sits. Especially in the smaller lots, 4,000, 5,000 square foot lots, where the existing home still has a significant amount of value, the redevelopment potential is not likely to outpace the existing value. When we look into this, it's properties that are at least 5,500 square feet and close to major transportation hubs that are most likely going to be valuable. Because the multiplex zoning also has a lower parking requirement, which means you have to sell the end units or some of the end units without a parking stall. So if you're a buyer and you don't have a parking stall and you're not close to transit, it's going to be much harder to sell those units and the revenues are going to drop. So the properties that are over 5,500 square feet close to transit will have the greatest potential in today's current market conditions.
So what would you say to simplify? Let's just say, for example, I live in Burnaby and there's laneway homes allowable now. And it costs, $470,000 approximately to build one now. Would you tell our listeners, or not, that it would actually not increase it by $500,000 automatically? Is that what you mean?
Laneway. So there's a difference between the laneway homes where you're holding them for rental and you only have one title. compared to the multiplex properties where you can build a laneway home, stratify it, and sell it off individually from the main house. With the rental laneway homes, for example, in Burnaby, the rents are increasing, but I don't see the rents increasing so much to cover that construction cost, especially when you factor in the interest rates to holding that additional, say, $500,000 to build it. Where the multiplexes and laneway homes get interesting is when you're allowed to stratify them off. So Jenny, take that coach home or laneway home that you could build in Burnaby, and if you were able to sell it as a strata unit, how much do you think you could sell it for?
I see. So I would say maybe like if it was stratified and it's a 1-bedroom, 700,000.
Right. So now it's interesting. So now if you have an existing home and you tear down your detached garage and put up a coach home, you build it for 500,000, sell it for 700,000, and you get to keep your house. Now we're seeing a clear path to profitability.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And what could be even more interesting is if what happens in Vancouver, where they allow you to build a duplex style detached coach home, now potentially you could sell each side for $500,000, giving you $1 million worth of revenue and still maintain your ownership of your current home.
Yeah. If I'm a homeowner, a landowner, and I'm looking to offload my property, what kind of characteristics would my property have to have in order to get a developer's interest to see that it's something that they should invest in?
It's a great question. Module 2 of our Valuing Property with Development Potential covers the feasibility study, which are the main pitfalls that developers have to watch out for when purchasing property. Some of this includes the environmental restrictions. As cities and the provincial government strengthen their environmental regulations, any properties that have creeks, have protected trees or important trees, are starting to have less development potential than properties without. So first is looking at the environmental conditions. Second is looking at the existing infrastructure. One of our clients purchased a property in Canby Phase 3 to build an 8-unit development. When he purchased the property, he didn't realize that there was no storm drains at the lot line. The storm drains collect the rainwater and feed it into the main systems. There's a rule that cities typically follow, which is the first developer in has to upgrade the infrastructure. And they asked him to put $1.2 million investment into upgrading the entire infrastructure for those storm drains, which held him back from being able to move forward. And he had to wait 5 years until another developer came in with a larger density project and was able to front that bill. So the first is environment. The second is the existing servicing conditions and ensuring that the services are at the lot line so that the new building can connect in. Then the third is the site conditions, which includes having a back lane, at least 50 feet of frontage, and being on a mostly flat lot.
You did talk about earlier it being around transit as well. So with the new line that's going in along Broadway, there's talk about going from Burnaby to North Van. I'm not sure if that's confirmed. There's new a gondola going up SFU. I'm sure there's tons of things happening around the Tri-Cities that I'm unaware of. Where do you see kind of the biggest increase or rise in price for single-family homes right now?
This is a great question. So if I was to purchase a single-family home for redevelopment potential, I would look to the Vancouver plan. The Vancouver plan is available on the City of Vancouver website and outlines the vision of Vancouver for the next 50 years. It's different than the current official community plan in Vancouver. The current official community plan in Vancouver is going area by area, updating so that it matches the Vancouver plan over time. And the areas that you talked about along 41st or 49th are identified in the Vancouver plan to have higher density than even multiplex. And those are some of the opportunities where you're going to see condos or townhouse sites coming in over time. So looking at the Vancouver plan is what's going to give you your vision to the future to select where the right places to invest are.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great tip. Bill, with all of this talk about rezoning, higher density development, and these kinds of things, you also offer a 12-week land assembly course to agents. Highly valuable because, as we know, when they're densifying properties, often you have to package it up for a larger parcel of land in order to build at the higher FSR. So, how many modules? So it's 12 weeks. What do the modules look like and how much is it? Who should take this specific course?
The development land assembly course is 12 modules. It builds off the 6 modules in the valuing property with development potential to include chapters like the listing presentation to homeowners
Mm,
and joint venture partnerships and how to and how to develop the full pro forma for townhomes and condo sites.
mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
I, I'm not convinced that I'm going to run that program again.
Oh, how come?
Oh,
And it's extremely valuable information. But ultimately, at the end of the course, my recommendation for residential realtors, when you find a land assembly, is to refer it to a commercial broker.
Mm,
Land assemblies are a lot of fun, but a lot of pain as well.
yeah.
I had to work on at least 12 land assemblies to get 1 or 2 to go. In 2019, I moved downtown Vancouver to work solely on the Canby Phase 3 plan and had over $120 million worth of land assemblies under contract. 6 different sites with 1 developer, and they walked away from everything.
Mm,
how many? Oh God, how many
that's a
years was that of
lot.
work?
How long
It
did it
was a
take you?
lot.
3 years? 2 years? 3 years?
And
Yeah, I was dedicated. I'm lucky I had my past client center of influence regular resale business continuing to feed me, but
Yeah.
the majority of my time was up and down the Canby Phase 3. Land assemblies are very finicky. Like the smallest thing goes wrong and the
Yeah.
developer pulls out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're a residential agent and you want to get into land assembly, I recommend that you get your residential resale business consistently to at least $300,000 per year,
Hmm.
mostly from referral. Then you can go play in the lottery and go find yourself a land assembly and learn how to go make the big checks happen.
Yeah.
But only after your family's taken care of, your bills are taken care of, and you're maintaining your residential business.
That's a
Mhm.
good tip, Bill.
What would you say in that process took the longest? Was it trying to collectively get the homeowners all on the same page, or the developer trying to work with the city to see if the performers work and their ideas work, or what
Mhm.
was the pushback, or why did they drop those
I think
contracts?
it's all painful. You get the one homeowner who wants more than everybody else. You get through that challenge. Okay, we've got everybody on board. We got fairly priced. You go find the developer, and then the developer finds something at the city.
Yeah.
And then you're going back and renegotiating and you're going for extensions. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Are
It is a
you
lot of
are
work.
you working for the homeowners or the developer?
We go in starting the intention to work for the homeowners.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Sometimes the homeowners tell us that they just bring them an offer and there's no way that they'll engage with a listing agent. And if that happens, then we did have buyers, the major developers, who at times would offer on properties, and we represent the purchaser.
Mhm.
Our
Hmm.
initial intention would be represent the
Right.
homeowner.
And so you're now moving this academy or course aside because the agents felt still like that they needed an additional length, like arm's length, to hire a commercial broker. And so, like, did you think that you couldn't deliver on the material and deliver on like them being successful?
Yeah, becoming good at land assemblies is very similar to becoming good in residential resale real estate.
Hmm.
Like your first 1, 2, 3, 4, you're still learning what's happening. And to try and take that on your own without having somebody who has the experience, like a commercial broker, to help you along the way is, in my opinion, not the right interest for the seller. We
Hmm.
should really be going in and representing the sellers once we have the experience ourselves, or have the support networks behind us to ensure that the seller has the experience to have a successful end result.
Mm-hmm.
So what I ended up doing is that's how I developed the 6-week valuing property with development potential course, was just the foundational knowledge of understanding what a zoning bylaw is, how a zoning bylaw
Mm-hmm.
correlates to an official community plan, the major feasibility pitfalls. All of that knowledge is essential knowledge for every realtor to know, especially as multiplexes and multifamily are coming into the residential resale marketplace. One step further in actually doing the land assembly and going out there and finding a developer is where we need to have more support behind us.
For sure. So you've basically scaled it back to the basics of what the core you would look at is to evaluate the property, right? Where people wouldn't necessarily know. You've basically dumbed it down for them
Yes.
by telling them where to look. So, okay. Why don't you instead walk us through the first 3 steps to valuing a development property? And you have a lot of experience at this because you've earned over $8 million in commission over the last 7 years. So there's a lot of expertise here, folks. Can you walk us through your process, Bill?
The first step when valuing a property is to go to the city mapping system. The city mapping system will give you a high-level view of everything that you need to know about the property, and that includes an environmental search,
Mm-hmm.
the existing services, the existing zoning, the official community plan, and any nearby parks, schools, or transit hubs.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've done the initial evaluation to ensure that there's no major pitfalls, there's no creeks, there's a back lane, then move forward into the CMA, which includes 3 searches on Paragon.
Mm-hmm.
The first is the sold listings for the 50 homes around the property 2 years back.
Mm-hmm.
The second is the sold search in a wider area in the last 6 months. And then the third is the active search for the most broad area, anywhere where you think a buyer would also be going on tour, including the property that you're looking at, in the price point that the solds are telling us the property is most likely to be valued in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know, you have such a close connection with the community in Port Moody. And for the listeners who are across Canada and the States, Port Moody is just outside of Greater Vancouver, and very nice city with lots of breweries, actually. What's your connection with that? Like in terms of the project that you're working on with Laidler Development, I know that you're doing this huge movement at the moment and with very little staff support.
Mm.
And why is it important to you?
I was born and raised in Port Moody. Our first project, Sitka House, our first project, Sitka House, an 88-unit condo building on James Road, just off St. John Street, backs onto my middle school. I used to play rugby on the top field that overlooks where the new building's going to be. What Sitka House was all about was bringing a lower cost product to the market for first-time home buyers. We proposed 400 square foot units, and the starting price point was $399,000, where most one bedrooms in Port Moody with other new developments were going for $650,000.
Yeah, so you're trying under $1,000 a square foot.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we wanted an opportunity, a stepping stone, a market stepping stone, not a subsidized stepping stone, a market stepping stone for first-time buyers to get onto the property ladder, benefit from the equity growth, and then move up over time.
Mm-hmm.
At the entry level. Our second project now, Kyle Park Senior Living, we're looking at the baby boomers and the care home marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
It makes total sense. That's a really largely underserviced area to look at in terms of population, and they're the fastest growing segment.
Yeah.
What about that option at 50 Electronic Avenue in Port Moody? They did a rent to own concept. So are we going to be seeing more of that as an option?
My sister actually won the rent to own program.
Ah,
It's the electronic. Yeah.
so it's a lottery. Like
So
it was limited number of buyers that could get into that program.
they had over 300 applications for something like 10 suites. So, Jenny, my challenge with the rent to own and the affordable housing programs is if you look at how many people in Greater Vancouver are priced out of the real estate market,
Mm-hmm.
I would expect at least 50, 60, maybe 70% of residents need help to get into the real estate market. And most of these programs only provide affordable units between 10 and 15%. What ends up happening is there is a lottery. We're providing a massive cash windfall for 10 to 15% of the marketplace, while anyone else who wasn't able to win those units is now stuck even further trying to get themselves into the market with 15% of the units not available for them to purchase.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's not a lot of equity in providing a small number of the population a massive
Mm-hmm.
subsidy, and everybody else is still trying to find their way.
Right. Still not a solution.
No, I just want to revisit one. We had asked some questions about Port Moody, but I just want to go back really quick to the first three steps to valuing development property, because I think you gave two. One was the city mapping system. Two was the CMA with the three searches on Paragon. What was the third?
The pro forma,
Okay.
either through the residual land value pro forma
Yeah.
or the direct comparison approach.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
What are some of you have such a wealth of knowledge, and now transitioning from a very successful realtor to now a coach, training programs, academy. One of my agents at my office is a student of yours. What are some of the programs that you offer? Are they self-guided? Are they in like a Facebook group? Or do you have weekly calls with them? What does that look like?
The Valuing Property with Development Potential is a self-guided 6-week course that is available for any agent to enroll at their own pace, at their own time. Our main product is the Business Accelerator
Mm.
for agents who are at least 3 years in the business
Mhm.
and want to add $200,000 to their income in the next 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
The Business Accelerator is 4 live calls a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and is in a group setting with 16 other agents who are all looking to accomplish similar goals.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We have the coaching and the accountability with a mastermind group all
Mm-hmm.
together in one program.
What does the cost look like for that, Bill, if you can say?
Well, Tony, I like to say that there is no cost. It does have an investment of $1,500 per month.
Mm-hmm.
And that investment in yourself and your business will be one of the most important investments you make in your real estate career.
Is it Canadian or US?
That's Canadian dollars.
Okay. Okay. Bill, what is the Laidler Philanthropy program supporting, and why is it important to you?
Laidler Philanthropy has 2 main initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
The first is the Salish Sea Research and Education Society, where we're working to bring an education center to Port Moody
Mm-hmm.
so that residents can see the impacts of residents on the oceans.
Mm.
It follows the model by Bamfield on Vancouver Island, where you have university grad students doing research and middle school and high school students able to come to the center to experience what the research is looking at.
Mhm.
I am a fairly strong conservative. And when I was building my real estate career, I spent very little time thinking about the environmental impacts
Mm.
of housing or any of the industries that we're working within. And the more I got involved with the Salish Sea Research and Education Society, the more interested I got in how the world is connected together.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the oceans and all the garbage that's coming out of it, and just being more conscious about how we live our day-to-day lives, how lucky we are to be in a place like Vancouver that's beautiful, but
Mm-hmm.
also being cognizant about the impacts that we have on the world as we move forward.
Mhm.
So the Salish Sea Research and Education Society is exciting to bring that exposure to people, because once you can look at it, see it, feel it, it becomes more conscious in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
The second board that I'm part of is the Port Moody Community Society, and we've launched Activate BC this year in partnership with Fraser Health. Activate BC provides business resources to business owners so that they can educate their staff on what to do in the event of an overdose, either in their workplace or with one of their employees or clients.
Mm.
How did you get involved in that? Why is that important to you?
Real estate and the local community has provided me so much in my business. As real estate agents, we are helping the local community, and the local community is helping us build our businesses with big investments into the commissions and our real estate service. I really wanted to give back to the local community and the local businesses, and partnered with two of our friends from when we grew up in high school here locally, Keegan Hughes and Claudia Kempe, for the Port Moody Community Society. And we got together in our first year to look at what causes we should get involved in, where there's no other organizations currently focused on. What we found was within Activate BC, there's a lot of support for nonprofits or addiction or the far end of the overdose crisis.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of casual drug users who unfortunately lose their lives for poison drugs or an accidental overdose that seemingly are day-to-day regular people in our lives. We wanted to look at that segment of the population and see how we could support them, and found that businesses had very little support on what to do if they wanted to get involved and wanted to share or help their employees in the case of something happening. That's how we decided to get involved with that, is just looking for the gap in the service offering.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a great way to give back.
Yeah.
I actually have a follow-up question to your accelerator program. And you mentioned there's 16 agents at a time that are in the program. What's the biggest shift you've seen out of all these agents? Like, is there a succession, like a successful case study that you can share with us?
Dallas Seckler is less than 3 years in the business. Last month, took 7 listings.
Wow. And
he joined our program.
Yeah.
He joined our program in our July launch. In the 3rd month in the program, took 7 listings.
I have a follow-up question to Jenny's question. With the coaching and the support and the accountability, and you had told the story at the beginning of investing in, an online lead program, for example. How are the coaches coaching your students to get the business? Are you going back to basics in terms of door knocking, cold calling? Now, what is it?
What got him the 7 listings?
Yeah.
What we know is for every 100 people in your database, you have 10 deals per year. If you look at the stats on the MLS, approximately 1 out of 10 homes sell every year, which means 1 out of 10 people you talk to is going to be moving this year. Most of the agents coming into the Laidler Academy have databases of between 300 and 500 people. For 300 people in your database, you have 30 deals in that database without doing any cold calling, door knocking, internet leads. Just focusing on those 300 people, you have all the deals you need to earn $500,000 a year. And that's what we work on in the first week of the accelerator, is getting your database organized so that you can service your database with 4 calls per year.
Perfect.
And that's where the success is coming from. Another example is Vic Sodi. Vic was a lawyer who got into real estate less than 2 years ago. In his first year, he was doing social media posts. He was buying internet lead programs. And we told Vic, you have such a great network being from the legal profession. Start servicing your existing contacts. And again, in September, he did 2 deals, $4 million worth of value. One from a lawyer that was in his office that he reached out to for the first time in September. And the second from a referral from a mortgage broker that he knew, but he had never asked for a referral before.
Wow. Yeah.
I love it. Just talking to people. It's very
right
simple.
there in your face.
It's very simple. Have the conversations, folks.
Okay, well, we are.
Biggest challenge, I would like to highlight that the biggest
Yeah.
mental block that we
Yeah.
have with the Academy agents is the feeling that by asking for a referral, they're begging for business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the change in perspective? What's the change in wording where they get that courage to reframe their mindset?
Right? So by speaking to your database, you're servicing your database.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're providing value to them. The best example of this is my brother, who was a mortgage broker when I was selling real estate. I would have clients that would buy with a different broker. And he would come up to me and say, why didn't you introduce me for the mortgage? And I told him, like, they already had somebody. He said, well, when did you meet them? And I told him, well, I met them 6 months ago. Why am I just finding out about this now if you met them 6 months ago? And I told Tim, I said, Tim, I'm selling real estate. I'll do my best to try and remember to refer you deals, but it's your job to ask me who I know. Take that responsibility off my plate.
Yeah.
I'm happy to refer to you. Just call me every single week on Friday morning and ask me who's the people I've met with, and I'll give you all the names and you can have all the referrals. So by Tim calling me and asking for the referral, he was actually doing me a service. He was taking that responsibility off my plate to try and remember to call him. And he was making it easy for me to make those referrals.
Right.
I like that mindset shift.
Yeah.
How many times have we called a past client and they've said, I was actually going to call you because I did know of somebody. But they don't call because they're busy.
Because it's probably not on their priority list.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
So true,
It's
Bill.
our job to call our clients, our centers of influence, and ask who they know. And it takes effort off of them, and they're happy to refer us most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to round the end of the session with 5 rapid fire questions. Such great content here. Bill, what advice do you have for your younger self starting in the business?
Join a team.
Okay.
What's the best gadget or tool that you've purchased under $100?
Best gadget or tool that I've purchased under $100. My whatever it takes bracelet.
Aw.
3 words to describe yourself.
Driven, professional, caring.
Nice.
If you could build anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Port Moody.
Okay.
Who is or was the most influential person in your life?
My former managing broker, Scott McDonald.
Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Laidler Academy. I'm still testing out Instagram though, so you're getting a variety of different styles of content and we're finding our way, but we are there now and I'm posting every day.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find us at LaidlerAccelerator.com or LaidlerAcademy.com.
Amazing. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of our listeners will take away, for me, surprisingly, not to go into land assembly if you're not going to pursue it more full-time and have a lot more experience and working with a team of experienced agents that can pull big deals together. And I think my biggest takeaway is making connections and having a coach in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bill, we really
Happy to convey
appreciate
that.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
We can see you're bringing a lot of value to our fellow agents and to the community. So thank you.
Yeah. And exactly. With all the charity work that you're doing as well. So appreciate it. And we'll see you very soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank
See
you.
you soon. Bye.